Marilyn Monroe was born as Norma Jeane Mortenson on June 1, 1926, in Los Angeles. From the very beginning, her life was marked by instability and loss. Her mother, Gladys Baker, suffered from severe mental illness and was unable to care for her, placing the infant Norma Jeane in foster care just weeks after birth. Monroe never knew the identity of her biological father and often fantasized that he resembled actor Clark Gable. Throughout her early years, Monroe was bounced between orphanages, foster homes, and temporary guardians, living with a total of 12 different families by the time she was a teenager. Some of these homes were safe, but many were not. Monroe later revealed that she was sexually abused in at least one of them. The constant uprooting, lack of emotional support, and childhood trauma caused her to develop a stutter, one of the many signs of the deep psychological scars she carried for life. At just 16 years old, Marilyn Monroe, still known then as Norma Jeane, was married off to her 21-year-old neighbor, James Dougherty. The marriage wasn't born out of love, but necessity. Her guardians could no longer care for her, and this was seen as the only way to keep her from returning to the orphanage or foster system. Though Dougherty was kind, Monroe felt stifled by the domestic life that followed. In 1943, he joined the Merchant Marine and was deployed overseas, leaving Monroe behind in Los Angeles. She soon took a job at a munitions factory to support herself, earning just $20 a week. It was there that a military photographer noticed her and snapped a photo for a wartime propaganda campaign. That single moment launched her modeling career, which quickly led to Hollywood screen tests. Realizing she wanted more than to be a housewife, Monroe divorced Dougherty in 1946 and began chasing stardom. Before Marilyn Monroe became a Hollywood icon, she was a struggling model trying to make ends meet. In 1949, desperate to pay off a car bill, she agreed to pose nude for photographer Tom Kelly for just $50. At the time, she was far from famous, but those images would later define an era. After Monroe's movie career took off, the photos resurfaced and caused a scandal, especially among studio executives at Fox, who feared it would tarnish her reputation. But Monroe chose to be upfront about the shoot, explaining that she had been broke and needed the money. Her honesty resonated with the public and actually boosted her popularity. In 1953, Hugh Hefner purchased the rights to one of those photos and made it the first centerfold in his new magazine, Playboy. Though they never met, Hefner remained obsessed with Monroe and later bought the burial spot next to hers, a move many consider disturbingly intrusive. Marilyn Monroe's relationship with baseball legend Joe DiMaggio began in 1952 when he asked a friend to set up a date. To Monroe's surprise, the famously stoic athlete was kind and respectful, and the two quickly fell into a long-distance romance. They married in January 1954, but the union soon began to unravel. DiMaggio struggled with Monroe's rising fame and public sex symbol persona, desiring a traditional housewife, while she pursued independence and career success. Tensions escalated as his possessiveness deepened, and Monroe later confided to friends and lovers that he had become physically abusive. Their breaking point came during the filming of her iconic skirt-blowing scene in The 7-Year Itch, which allegedly sparked a violent argument. Monroe filed for divorce just 9 months into the marriage, citing mental cruelty. Despite their painful split, DiMaggio remained devoted. He helped her through hospital stays, arranged her funeral, and sent roses to her grave for 20 years. Despite being typecast as the glamorous, dumb blonde, Marilyn Monroe was determined to be taken seriously as an actress. Behind the camera, she worked tirelessly to improve her craft. She enrolled in acting classes at the Actors Lab in Los Angeles and later studied under renowned coach Lee Strasberg at the Actors Studio in New York. Monroe also read classic literature on set and sought constructive feedback to sharpen her performances. Frustrated with being handed shallow, one-dimensional roles and denied salary increases despite being Fox's biggest star, she walked out on her contract in 1954. That same year, she founded her own production company, Marilyn Monroe Productions, becoming only the second woman in Hollywood to do so. The move shocked the industry and ultimately forced Fox to renegotiate, granting her higher pay and creative input. Monroe's ambition wasn't just to be famous. She wanted to be respected, intelligent, and in control of her career. Though Marilyn Monroe radiated confidence on screen, behind the scenes she battled crippling stage fright and overwhelming self-doubt. Despite her status as a global icon, she frequently suffered from anxiety so severe it caused physical reactions, rashes, nausea, and trembling. On set, she struggled to remember lines, hit her marks, or stay in focus, often requiring dozens of takes to complete even simple scenes. Her chronic lateness frustrated directors and co-stars alike, but many recognized that her difficulties stemmed from deep-rooted insecurity rather than ego. Actor Don Murray, who worked with her on Bus Stop, recalled her being terrified before each scene. Jack Lemmon, her co-star in Some Like It Hot, shared that one day it took her over 30 takes to finish a scene. Yet the very next morning, she nailed a complex one on the first try. Beneath the chaos was undeniable brilliance, just often buried under fear and emotional fragility. Marilyn Monroe's third and final marriage was to acclaimed playwright Arthur Miller, whom she met in 1951 but didn't begin dating until 1955. They married in 1956, shortly after Miller finalized his divorce. At first, their union was filled with hope. Monroe admired Miller's intellect and yearned for the stability and emotional support she never had. However, the marriage quickly grew strained. Miller, a private intellectual, struggled to cope with Monroe's emotional volatility and public life. Monroe, in turn, felt increasingly inadequate and isolated. Her heartbreak deepened when she discovered a diary entry in which Miller wrote that he was embarrassed by her. Their failing relationship bled into their professional work when Miller penned The Misfits, a film written for Monroe, but widely seen as a reflection of their crumbling marriage. The shoot was disastrous, and the couple divorced shortly after. Miller didn't even attend her funeral, later calling her a super-sensitive instrument that self-destructed. Marilyn Monroe deeply longed for motherhood, a desire that remained tragically unfulfilled. During her marriage to Arthur Miller, she experienced at least 2 miscarriages and 1 ectopic pregnancy, each loss devastating her emotionally. Monroe suffered from endometriosis, a painful medical condition where uterine tissue grows outside the uterus, often leading to infertility and increased miscarriage risk. Compounding her struggles were years of alcohol and prescription drug use, which may have further affected her reproductive health. Additionally, rumors persisted that Monroe had undergone multiple illegal abortions earlier in her career, a grim reflection of the pressures placed on actresses in 1950s Hollywood. Studios often included strict moral clauses in contracts, discouraging pregnancies that could interfere with filming schedules or alter an actress's public image. Whether by medical misfortune or external coercion, Monroe's inability to have children haunted her. It was a painful contradiction. The woman adored by millions was never able to build the family she desperately wanted. Marilyn Monroe's mental health struggles were as persistent as they were debilitating. Beneath her radiant public persona, she battled severe depression, chronic insomnia, and what many now suspect may have been a personality disorder. To cope, Monroe became increasingly reliant on a dangerous combination of alcohol and prescription medications, barbiturates for sleep, stimulants for energy, and tranquilizers for anxiety. Her dependency worsened over time, leading to erratic behavior, emotional breakdowns, and at least one known suicide attempt. In 1961, shortly after divorcing Arthur Miller, Monroe voluntarily admitted herself to the Payne Whitney Psychiatric Clinic in New York, seeking rest. Instead, she was confined to a padded room against her will and treated as a psychotic patient. It was Joe DiMaggio, her former husband, who forced his way into the facility and demanded her release. His intervention not only freed her, but revealed the fragile, misunderstood reality behind Hollywood's most iconic smile. On August 5, 1962, Marilyn Monroe was found dead in her Los Angeles home at just 36 years old. The official cause, a barbiturate overdose, ruled a probable suicide. However, the circumstances surrounding her death quickly became clouded in suspicion. Conflicting witness statements, a missing phone log, and delayed police notifications fueled conspiracy theories that have persisted for decades. Central to many of these theories was her alleged affair with President John F. Kennedy and possibly his brother, Robert. Whispers of political secrets and powerful enemies intensified public fascination with her final hours. Some believe Monroe knew too much, while others think her death was the tragic culmination of a life filled with pain and abandonment. Regardless of the truth, Monroe's legacy endures as the ultimate cautionary tale. A woman adored by millions, yet unable to find the love, safety, or stability she so desperately sought. In death, her mystery became immortal.